What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I hope you like this video. This is your review for Love and Hip Hop Miami, season 3, episode. What episode are we on? 11, episode 11. So, we started this episode off. We back in the Bahamas, and we left off last week with Trick showing up, surprising them, and Trick was like, "Look, I said I wasn't coming, and I wasn't planning on coming, but then I thought about, Trina really needed me, and her mom. I've known her mom since I was a kid, and she's always been, she, was a wonderful woman, and it was just bigger than." Being here for Trina was bigger than what I was dealing with in my little situation. So he showed up. Trina's sister is also there. And later on in the episode, we see where they have this really nice, seaside moment for her mom, and everybody comes up and says some nice things. And, I really like what Trick said. Trick said, when I was a kid growing up in Liberty City, which is, by all accounts, not the greatest place, he said, I didn't understand different types of women. I didn't have a word for it. But what I knew was that Trina's mom, they had like a nickname for her. The neighborhood boys had a nickname for her, and he said, I just knew that I wanted to marry a woman like her. So I was like, I thought that was a nice way of, expressing that her mom just, he didn't know how to put a word on it as a kid, but he just knew she was different, and that's the type of woman he wanted to be with. And Bobby went on to say, Bobby had to be extra honey, but then Bobby had to throw in there like, look, she was the glue that kept the family together, and she's the reason why Trick and Joy even got together. And Joy was like, yeah, I knew Trick liked me. I wasn't really feeling him, and she told me to give him a chance, that he was really a good guy, and look at where we ended up, basically. And then you saw a couple of other family members come up and say some really nice things, and Trina and her sister went up there, and I appreciate the fact that, I don't know if Trina and her sister spoke or not, but if they did speak, they kept that private. And I thought that was, I could appreciate that. I thought that was appropriate. Amara, look. Amara wears me out. Because even when Amara is making some good points, I was just saying this to somebody a few minutes ago. Even when Amara is making some good points and you agree with her, because she's so extra, it wears you out. But Amara realizes that she's still processing the whole thing with MJ or whatever. But what she's realizing is, I think I'm pissed off at Prima Donna. And I don't really appreciate the way I feel like Prima Donna, she ambushed me. She didn't tell me she was bringing that lady to our lunch. And when even once the woman got there, she didn't, she just ambushed me. She didn't give me any type of warning. And even if it was coming from a valid place, the way you did it was messed up. And they weren't friends that long, and they hadn't really been friends that long. You know what I mean? Like, they were still getting to know each other. And so, even though, her thing was, she might have been coming at me from a right place, her delivery was wrong. And I can agree with that. Again, I can agree with that. But then Amara is so extra how she chooses to. She's talking to her mother, and she's just going off. And I'm just like, Amara, like, you got a whole lot of energy 3 weeks later. Child. So Sukihana is having an event. She said, having a conversation about colorism really made me, want to try to bring awareness to it, that, all of us, no matter what our complexion is, are dealing with different issues when it comes to the industry. So I wanted to bring us together so we could just sort of talk about, we could talk about our experiences and understand that we all have a cross to bear, so to speak, and that we can, work together so that we don't turn on each other. And Suki, she said, I want people to understand that I'm more than just this hood chick. You know what I mean? I'm not, I'm I'm smart too, and I can appreciate that. And so she's planning this event, and I thought it was a decent idea. I mean, at first I was like, when I was watching the episode, at first I was like, what? I'm like, okay, you just making up a reason to have an event, because they gotta have these events, honey. But then once they got there and people started really talking and telling their story, I was like, okay, this is valid. This is valid. Excuse me. Briscoe, which I feel like in my Love and Hip Hop Atlanta review, I just call Sierra's ex-husband Briscoe, and I was thinking about this Briscoe. I don't know if that's his name or not. Okay, so if you watching this review, my bad. Because I really thought I had it right. Y'all know how I'm with names. I'm trying to get better. Anyway, but Briscoe, I have it right on this one. It's Briscoe. He really wants his family back, so he takes his baby mama house hunting with him, and he said, this house a little bit out of my budget, but I just need to see where she coming from. I need to see what she looking at. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know how that doesn't make, I don't understand. But it's a nice house, 5-bedroom with a pool and outdoor barbecue and all that. It's a real nice spot. And, he's got his baby's mom with him and everything. And he tells her, he said, look, at the end of the day, I want to be with you. Like, I'm trying to be with you. Everything I'm doing is to get you back, get my family back under one roof. You tell me, if I move here, I want you to move with me. Now, you done already said you can't afford that place. So you probably shouldn't word it that way, like y'all about to move into that house, because that might influence her decision. Versus if y'all were moving into like a 2-bedroom house in a different neighborhood, that might be a different conversation. But whatever. But she tells him, she said, look, hold on. But she says, I appreciate it. And basically I do still love you and everything, but I really just don't want us to fall back into that same situation. Like, if we're gonna get back together, it's gotta be on something different. I don't want to be out here running these streets looking for you. I need you to come home at a decent time. Like, I just need some stuff so that I can't do this again. I can't do that merry-go-round with you again. And he was like, nah, it's not going to be that. I love you. And so she was like, okay, I'm willing to see how this works out. So they back together. Yay, Briscoe. Yay, you. Yay. We also see where Briscoe and Hood Brat is having a conversation. And Hood Brat is telling him, look, I found out, that my dude lied to me, that he's married. He didn't tell me. And, of course, Briscoe is taking the man's point of view, saying, look, give him another chance. Maybe, he's married, but it ain't that. And he was like, well, he could have said that. And she said, at the end of the day, and this is the dilemma that women deal with all the time. I mean, men too, but let's look at it from her point of view. You love him and you want to be with him and you want to work it out. But there's a part of you that's like, but I don't want to be that fool. I don't want to be an idiot. If I take you back, I accept it. And then you turn around and you do it to me again. Then I'm a real idiot. And so that's kind of what she's dealing with right now, to say, look, I don't play those games. I don't make those decisions. Like, at the end of the day, either we're going to be together. I don't play second fiddle to anybody. But then the flip side of that is, but I love you and I want to be with you. And I want to believe what you're telling me. So, I mean, he basically told her, go talk to that man and give him a chance to explain himself and go work it out. Now we get to Sukihana's event. And it is really, really, really cute. She had brown balloons of different colors, different shades. She asked everybody to wear brown, different shades of brown. And it looked like most people followed the dress code. And everybody looked nice. Everybody showed up appropriate. Ain't nobody coming there looking crazy, looking hood radish. And I can appreciate it. Now, Amara is there. She shows up because her mother told her, you need to get out the house. You need to go do something and be social. But, of course, she walks in the door and she walked right into who? Prima Donna, the person she got an attitude with to begin with. So everybody's telling their stories and stuff and, sharing their experiences. And, Prima Donna was saying how, she said her father was Geechee. Her mom was from Africa. She didn't say what country. She just said the whole damn continent. So I'm going to just let that one go. But she said growing up, she didn't want her butt. She didn't want her African features because those were the things the kids made fun of her. They called her African booty scratcher and things like that. Hood Brat was saying how she grew up so dark and she had such a complex about her dark skin that she didn't want to date. She didn't want to have a baby by a dark skinned person because she didn't want to produce another dark skinned child. And she didn't want a child to go through what she went through. And she said she dealt with depression over her complexion until, she got to a certain point where she kind of was like, girl, whatever. You know, I am what I am, all of that. So then Amara shared her story, and she said, you know, being Afro-Latina, I didn't belong with the black kids because they were like, you speak Spanish and you're not one of us. I didn't belong with the Latina kids because they were like, you got that Afro, you black. And I just didn't feel like I fit with either side of my culture. So Prima Donna says, Amara, if you know, well, what do you identify as? Now, it's an innocent question, especially in light of the conversation that they're having. I don't think it's a question that's not valid. However, Amara's already pissed off at Prima Donna, and here's where Amara pisses me off. So here's the part where she irritates me. If you didn't want to make a big deal about the fact that you were upset with Prima Donna, answer the question and keep it moving. But what you choose to do is ignore her question and turn to other people at the table and say, yeah, hi. If you really weren't trying to bring attention to the fact that y'all have a beef going on right now, then what you do is say, well, you know, I really identify as this, but da-da-da-da-da, and then you move on. But you are now making it very obvious that you pissed off at Prima Donna and you got an issue. So, of course, I mean, y'all weren't at, like, this huge event of 30, 40, 50 people. It was, like, 10 people at a table. So, of course, now everybody's looking at you like, well, girl, what's the problem? Like, is there something going on here? What's the tension? And you don't want to answer the question, and you're doing that. Hi, yeah. I was like, what the hell is wrong with her? Like, she's looking real ignorant right now. So Prima Donna said, look, if you got a problem, say you got a problem. Like, as far as I was concerned, I thought we were good. Like, I thought I was doing you a favor. I was letting you know that your man was, you know, wasn't about nothing. But if you got an issue with me, be a woman about it and speak on it. And Amara was like, whatever, I didn't want to say nothing to you because, you know, I do have an issue with you, but I don't really want to talk about it right now because I don't want to mess up the event or whatever. So, honey, Hoodbrat gets up and says, well, I'm ready to go because I don't have time for this right now. I don't have time to deal with this. Here goes Sookie. Girl, everybody don't have to fight like us. They just arguing. They fine. I said, you know what? That damn Sookie's hilarious. Sookie's hilarious, okay? She's hilarious. But even though I agree with Amara and why she's upset with Prima Donna, I understand where Prima Donna is coming from. Like, look, when we parted ways, I thought we were good. So if we're not good, you need to let me know that we're not good. So then they get ready to leave or whatever. They pretty much, Sukihana pretty much ends the event. So as they're leaving out, Prima Donna rolls up on Amara like, look, be a woman about your shit. If you pissed off at me, if we got an issue, just speak on it. So then Amara goes off. Amara is like, yeah, I got a problem with you. Blah, 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 blah. And Prima Donna was like, see, I can respect that. You mad at me? Cool. I can respect that. But be a woman about your shit and tell me. And she was like, well, I didn't want to get into it because I didn't want to mess up the event. I didn't want to ruin the event. This wasn't the time or place to have that conversation. And again, I say, then if that's how you felt, Amara, and if that's how you really, then what you should have done is not bought it there. You walking in there with an attitude, and when that woman asks you a direct question, instead of saying, I don't really want to speak on that, or that's, like if it's something, but instead of doing that, you turned it into a bigger deal, which brought more attention to it, which made people say, oh, there's some beef here. There's a problem here. Amara, you knew what you were doing, and you be playing games, and you be playing innocent. And if that's what irritates me about you, because you know, if you didn't want to deal with Prima Donna, all you had to do was answer her question and keep it moving. And that would have been the end of it. But you ignoring her and you making these faces and you looking off to the side, that is making it really obvious that you got an issue. Anyway, that's pretty much all I got. I think that's pretty much where the episode ended. Let me make sure. But that's pretty much it because I kind of skipped around. Oh, no. There was a very important conversation, my bad, that happened down to the Bahamas. So Trick and Trina actually had a good conversation Trick and Joy actually had a good conversation down to the Bahamas. And Joy said her thing basically was their marriage had dissolved to a point where she didn't think that Trick, by the time she finally left, she didn't think Trick cared whether she was there or not. She said, I didn't know that you loved me because You never told me. You never told me how much you cared about me. You never told me how much you loved me. And I just didn't think that, we had just got to a point where I just didn't think you cared about me like that anymore. She said, he said, I never went to the mall without buying something for you. She was like, what is that? What are things? What are materialistic things? I wanted affection. I wanted love. I wanted to feel like my husband loved me. She said, he said, you know what? He said, I didn't buy those things because I had messed up. I didn't buy those things because I had yelled at you or because I had raised my voice or because I had fucked up. I bought those things because I cared about you and I wanted you to have it. Like, that came from a sincere place, not out of a, oops, I messed up. So then she said, well, why don't you take care of yourself anymore? She said, when we were together, you used to do your weights, you used to exercise. Why don't you care about yourself anymore? And I don't remember his answer about that. I don't really remember him answering that. But then he finally said, you know what, Joy? He said, I'm sorry. He said, if I ever did or said anything to make you feel like I didn't care about you, or make you feel like you weren't important to me, I'm sorry. He said, because you are and I do. He said, I am sorry. And he meant that thing. Like, it was sincere. Like, he wasn't joking. It wasn't no facetiousness. That he meant that thing. And I really feel like him and Joy sort of hit a crossroads because he said, so you think that leaving me was going to make me care more? Like, you felt like I stopped caring about my parents and I stopped caring about you thought that leaving me was going to make me care more about it. And so, but it was a good conversation that was probably 2 years overdue. But at the end of the day, they both still care about each other. I don't know if they still care about each other enough to get back together. But it was a good conversation that needed to be had. So, I almost forgot that part. That was a good part, too. That was a good part. But anyway, so yeah, that was it, y'all. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in the comments. Peace.